And just so you know, the Association for Driver Rehab Specialists is called AIDD, and it's a national, it's a worldwide association. We have people from Australia, Canada, all kinds of countries, and so we're focused on driver rehab and adaptive driving.
Opinions shared by the guests of the show are their own and do not necessarily represent the views of the host, bindwaves, or the Brain Injury Network. This podcast is for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of a healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Brittany, and I'm a brain injury survivor and member of BIND.
And hi, I'm Carrie, a stroke survivor and a member of BIND as well. And today we are welcoming back Brandon Higgs. And Brandon is the owner of H&T Driver Rehabilitation Specialist, LLC, which is a driver rehabilitation program that focuses on the road for getting back on the road for neurologically impaired population of North Texas. So welcome back, Brandon.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's been a little over a year, I think. So just to get started, I thought we'd just go back and start a little bit with the basics. And so if someone's looking to get back to driving after a brain injury, where would they start?
Well, I think they would start with their physician, ask the doctor if they think the physician feels like it's appropriate for them to consider returning to driving, and then go from there.
Okay, yeah,
that could stem. Yeah, just go from there.
Okay, so yeah, that was kind of my next. It's like, who evaluates when they're ready to drive, and do you need doctor approval?
So it depends. Here in Texas, we have the Medical Advisory Board, and they advise the Department of Public Safety, which is the DPS office, is where you get your driver's license. And so it's a relationship between the Medical Advisory Board and the Department of Public Safety. If you have a brain injury, nobody's going to knock on your door from the state and say, hey, you need to take a driving test. Most of the time, the physicians are not going to recommend that either, because they're just that's not something they focus on. However, if you do some research, you'll find that the Medical Advisory Board does have some language when it's concerning driving and brain injury. And so you have to read that document, or you can call somebody like me and help you kind of interpret the rules. It is a gray area, 100%.
No, I know. When we had you a year ago, we did a lot of different topics on this, and technically, you don't have to tell the state.
Right.
Like when you go in to renew your license, that's when it asks you, have you had a brain injury? And we tell people because if you call DPS and say, I've had a brain injury or stroke, they're going to be like, oh no, you don't need to come back in.
That's right.
We tell everyone, go back in.
Right, and it's to cover yourself from a liability standpoint.
Right.
So if you're safe, I would definitely go in, because eventually, like you said, when you renew, they're going to ask you specifically, do you have a medical situation that could impact your driving ability? And, I think, go ahead and say, hey, I want to take the road test. And you can do that when you go online at DPS.
Right. And in my brain, I'm thinking, do all that, go to you, get recertified. And if I don't think the Medical Advisory Board is really going to get involved unless you're maybe driving unsafe and things start to happen.
Right. Well, they can. So, like I said, once again, going back to kind of that gray area, when you go to DPS, it's subjective. So the person working behind the counter, if they see you walking with a limp, or you have some kind of, aphasia that's impacting your speech, they can recommend a road test there. They can recommend you be evaluated by the Medical Advisory Board there. And if you are reported to the Medical Advisory Board, you'll get a packet in the mail, and you have to fill it out, and your physician will have to fill it out and mail it back or fax it back to the Medical Advisory Board. Then they still may recommend you take a road test. So I like to just be preemptive and just go ahead and get the doctor involved, pull him in right away, and come see somebody like me, a certified driver rehab specialist, go through the whole evaluation, do some training if you need it, and then get recertified, so to speak, at DPS. That way you're already ahead of everything, and you know that a third party has looked at your driving and said, hey, yeah, you're safe. Or maybe there's some adaptive equipment that could help you out. And then if you do get recommended down the road to the medical advisory board, you already got the doctor on your team, you already got the CDRS on your team, and they can help you navigate the next steps. So that's the best way to do it. The medical advisory board, they do have specific language if you have a significant deficit, like you do have hemiplegia, and you're walking with, you got some flexor synergy tone in your arms, or you have a vision, a hemianopsia, or slower processing speed now. They do recommend you retake the test at DPS. It's a recommendation. If you get pulled over by a Texas State Ranger, they're not going to know. But if you get in a wreck and hurt somebody or kill somebody, then that's when you can run into a problem.
Right. I mean, yeah, I know I retested, so, but yeah. And
just so you know, the Association for Driver Rehab Specialists is called ADID, and it's a national, it's a worldwide association. We have people from Australia, Canada, all kinds of countries, and so we're focused on driver rehab and adaptive driving. We have a Texas chapter, and I'm the president.
Okay.
I'm the president. And right now, as we speak, I'm talking to the supervisor in the North Texas area for DPS, and we're going to get on a phone call and try to standardize everything. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I want us to talk. I want to have the medical advisory board, they're revising their documents too, to where it's just, it's more black and white, it's more streamlined, and there's not such much of a gray area. The system we have now is not bad, honestly. You have a brain injury, you retake the road test, you prove you're safe, and you go on about your business.
Okay.
Yeah. So, with you talking to the board, what more procedures would you put in place or to recommend?
Yeah, I would like for instance, if you come see somebody like me, this is me personally. If you come see a CDRS, that's somebody that's done it for multiple years. They've taken a national certified test. They got to participate in continuing education. It's a practitioner in the field. If they say you're safe, I would like that document to withstand, and the medical advisory board actually look at those documents. And then there's nothing after that. Because right now, in the current process, you can come see somebody like me. I can recommend you retake the road test. You can retake the road test, pass the road test, and then you still get recommended to the medical advisory board.
Right. Okay, I'm going to back you up real quick. CDRS, Certified Driving Rehabilitation Specialist.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so now you got me thinking even since last time we talked. Some rehab facilities, some therapy places have their own driving. I mean,
that's right.
Is it an either or is it a both? Like you can go through driving with if you're at a, let's say Pate, and I don't know for sure. Disclaimer: I don't know for sure that Pate has their own driving service. But is it I go through Pate, I don't need to come see you, or I go through Pate, but maybe I still want to come see you?
It depends. I know the guys at Pate. I know Christine Nelson. She's like over the program.
Yeah, I think we actually interviewed her too, now that you said her name.
Yeah, she's awesome. Yeah, good friend of mine. And then there was another guy there, and then there's a younger guy that's taken over. They got an awesome driving rehab program. They were at conference. We were just at conference up in Columbus. So yeah, if they have the time to see, absolutely, go through them, absolutely. The only problem with some of those hospital-based programs, they might not have all the equipment, the adaptive equipment. So it's just, if you see somebody who's a driving rehab professional, a DRP or a CDRS, you're on the right track there. Mm-hmm. And if you have any questions about where to find these people, ADED, it's ADED, ADED.net, the Association for Driver Rehab Specialists. You can seek these people out.
Okay.
So, you just mentioned adaptive equipment. So, since we spoke last, are there any new adaptive equipment for driving since,
So we just got back from our annual conference up in Columbus, Ohio, and the manufacturers of the equipment, they're getting better. They're innovating. The equipment, it costs more than ever. It really does. But it's the electronic components are. The acceleration is all electronic now. They're tapping into the vehicle computers, and everything's seamless. It's almost like factory. We call it OEM. It all seems OEM now. So if you do get adaptive equipment put on your vehicle, it looks like it's meant to be there. The companies are a lot more communicative now. If you have an issue with it, so I don't know if there's any new pieces of equipment out per se. There are new pieces of equipment out. Actually, there's a cool piece from a company called Vicky, and if you're in a power chair and you're driving from your power chair, they do got a nice stabilizer bracket that's hooked up to the back of the chair and the B pillar. So there are things like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess then that kind of brings me like one of our next questions. So, new or not new, what are maybe the most common adaptations that you see that people need? I mean, like we talked about, Brittany and I both have our issues. I mean, mine is all on left side, so I can drive easily with the right side because cars are sorry, left-handed people. Cars are kind of more, they're geared more to the right-handed people, unless it's a stick. And we know, like I said, so that's the designation on my license is I'm automatic only.
Right.
Because obviously my left leg cannot push in a clutch.
Right.
I can't push in a clutch and shift a gear and hold a steering wheel all with my right hand. It's not going to happen.
Right, and that was smart of the DPS worker to put that on your license. That's another part, going back before I answer that question about DPS. Excuse me, sorry. Another thing about DPS, we'd like to get them all on the same page regarding restrictions. But as far as the most common, brain injury, of course, there's a lot of, we call it hemiaplegia, where one side of your body is partially paralyzed for whatever reason. In that scenario, it might be a left foot accelerator, what we call them spinner knobs, or like a smart spinner knob with the turn signals in the spinner knob, because for whatever reason you want to keep your hand on that steering, on that device. So we see a lot of those, and of course hand controls. Hand controls are the most common device.
Do y'all still, I don't know the exact wording, but be able to change the pedals for someone that maybe their right foot is what's paralyzed? I know I had a friend that whatever they did, they covered the gas pedal and moved the pedals over, added
it's
a pedal.
Left foot accelerator.
Okay.
Yeah, so your accelerator is on the left side, and you still use the factory brake pedal, but now you got a left foot accelerator.
Okay.
And it's all electronic now. So that'll be there, and then say your spouse or the mechanic needs to drive the vehicle, they just don't turn that pedal on.
Okay.
And that pedal's dead.
Yeah, because I always wondered how he did it, because in my mind it was covered, but now it's not.
It might in the old days it was when it was mechanical, but the mobility dealerships, they don't really like installing mechanical left foot accelerators. Some of them still do, but we're really trying to get away from that and just go all electronic.
Okay.
Yep.
Are there any more adaptations or modifications that can be made for someone that has hemiaplegia?
Yeah, absolutely. So it could range from, like I said, a lot of times we do that left foot accelerator that solves the problem of the partially paralyzed foot, the right foot. So that solves that. Now, how do you steer? We got some kind of steering orthotic. Now, how do you get to the secondaries, your turn signal? So you might need help, with a drop down turn signal extension, or if you're paralyzed on the left side, you might need a crossover turn signal extension. So you're not reaching through the steering wheel, getting there. I don't know. Your left arm looks pretty good.
Yeah, no, I can't use my left arm, but I've seen those. But
you don't use it?
No, because look how tall I am.
Yeah.
Do you know where it would go?
Right. And there's pros and cons.
But I don't have any problem. It's
reaching
just right
through the
there.
steering wheel. Yeah. Well, just pay attention to it. Some people do for whatever reason. But yeah, sometimes we'll do the crossover or the smart steering wheel.
I've seen those, and that might be something later if I ever start it. But like the car I have now, it's easy. I don't have issues.
Right, and every vehicle's different. Every person's different. So those are the most common for that. Yeah.
Okay, now, and this is a question that our members have asked, which is a good question, whether you're brain injured or not. But how do you help manage someone that has anxiety, A, about just driving in general, or especially as a survivor, that anxiety of returning to driving? Because I do have the issues now.
Medical marijuana. No, I'm joking. No,
I don't think you're supposed to take that and drive.
no, you're absolutely no. You're not. You're not supposed to take that and drive. And that was a big topic at our conference. Like it's like drinking and driving. No, anxiety is everybody's problem, brain injured or not. It's the young person with autism. It's the 40-year-old with the spinal cord injury. It's the 80-year-old with dementia. Everybody I see, they're nervous, especially when you're seeing somebody like me for your driving. Me personally, I like to say, let's focus on the present. You need to stay in the present, and then I got a whole strategy the way I do things. But sometimes they need to go back to their doctor and say, hey, do I need to get in therapy or do I need to get on a medication to help just for right now? Mm-hmm. I'm not pushing medication, but
right.
But we do get to a point where it's like, look, you're not making progress because of your anxiety. So, but me personally, stay in the moment. Don't worry about anything but what we're doing right now, and because that's where anxiety comes from. You're worried about what happened or what's going to happen. So,
yeah.
But it's not like a light switch.
No.
I can't stop being nervous.
Come on.
Right. It's just, so I'll say one thing. There's a guy, his name's Chad Stromat. He's out of Houston, Texas. He's been doing it for like 30 years, maybe longer. And he went and got his doctorate degree in OT, and he was speaking at our conference. And he said he specialized in anxiety for his doctoral program because it is. And when he said that, I mean, I totally agree. Everybody's nervous, and it is a barrier. It is a huge barrier because you can't focus on what you're doing. And if you already have a little bit slower processing speed or you can't divide your attention or multitask like you used to, anxiety plummets those functions even more.
Yeah, I can see that. I'm going to take a quick little break and remind our listeners to go ahead and click that like button, click that share button, click that notify button, click all the buttons that have a thumbs up. And we will get back. Let me look and see where we were. I don't know if it's me or you, Brittany.
You.
So I know we talk about this a lot too, and it's not necessarily always brain injury related again, but we see it more in brain injury, seizures. I mean, again, that's another one of those that I know, and I think if you have a seizure, your neurologist or your doctor, they tell you you can't drive for 6 months. Now, again, no one's reporting that anywhere. It's just if you drive within that time frame, then yes, it will be documented then, and you'll know if you get in an accident within that time. So, but it's still kind of an honor system from the way I understand it. Mm-hmm. But is there any other things you can tell people about with seizures, like returning back to driving? And
yeah, once again, it goes back to the liability aspect. If your doctor tells you not to drive and you drive and you hit somebody and you could be sued, bad, so that's a risk you got to take. What I would do if I was returning to driving, I would have the doctor sign something. Well, let's say you came to my program and you've had a seizure I need to know you've been seizure free for 90 days.
Okay.
And the doctor, there is a form called a DL177. It's a DPS form DL177. And it's medical information request. You take that into your physician, have him sign that, and he might even indicate that it's controlled by medication. That's fine. And you could come back to driving sooner if they sign off on that. Also, if you're still having seizures but it's controlled by medication, well, now you're still having seizures, but you're epileptic for whatever reason, mm-hmm. You really should have a special restriction on your driver's license. I can't remember the restriction off the top of my head. I think it's like a B something. No, it's not a B. It's something. But it indicates you cannot drive transportation vehicles. No taxi cabs, no ambulances, and no school buses.
Right, but you can drive your personal car.
You can drive your personal car, right. We're talking about liability.
Right. And I think that's a big thing is, I mean, you know, a lot of what we talk about is survivors to other survivors is CYA, you know.
Absolutely. And when you're young and you're like, whatever, da, da, da. But they happen. I mean, I hear those stories sitting on this side of the table. You know, so just cover yourself and do it the right way.
Yeah. So,
and if you have questions about how to do it the right way, call somebody like me. If I can't help you, I'll give you the information.
Right.
You know?
So questions about doing it right way. Why? We already know the why, because liability. But when do you have to disclose a brain injury to get recertified?
Well, I mean, like we talked about earlier, when you go to renew, they have that question on the page too. You know, and then at that point it's like, hey, you know, do I reveal this or not? You know, and that's up to you. I mean, I just think from a liability standpoint, why not just put all your cards on the table? And if the medical advisory board wants to send you documentation, you just take it up to your doctor. Hey, sign this. We'll play that game until I'm totally cleared.
Well, and I guess that's a good thing to mention. Just because you mark on the form that, yes, I've had a brain injury, doesn't automatically mean you don't get to drive. It just means there may be additional steps that need to be taken.
And remember, the medical advisory board is a group of physicians. And most of them, from my experience, they're a little bit older. They've been doing it a long time. You know, they're reviewing these cases. And they're not out to get you. They're just out to make sure, you know, we've considered everything from a medical standpoint. And then they're going to review it and maybe ask you to take a road test or get something signed by your doctor. And then that's it, you know. Your license could be, even if your license gets medically suspended and then revoked, you could get it reinstated. You know, you might have to, you know, get some additional information from your physician. So
right. We talked more about the physical limitations, but what are some of the other common limitations that you see for people, like cognitively or vision? I know we've talked about in the past, and in my brain I was just thinking, like, how well maybe if you've got the cognitive and or a face, I mean, I can see it both ways, but like GPSs, are those a hindrance or a helper?
It depends. It depends upon the person. You know, it depends on, are those verbal cues going to be helpful, or are they distracting? You know, are you looking down at your screen? Is that distracting? You know, it's just something we got to test out in the field.
Okay.
And that's why it's good, and come to somebody like me, spend a little bit of money, but you get real life tools you're going to use for the rest of your life. So from a cognitive standpoint, you got to have enough processing speed. You know, we test processing speed. We do a clinical evaluation. And if it's significantly impaired, I mean, that might prevent you from driving. You know, and then visually we know a common one is the hemianopsia,
right,
the loss of the vision field. You know, and if you have a loss of vision, peripheral vision, that can become a big problem. Because you use your peripheral vision almost more than you use your central vision when you're driving.
Right. Well, I know, yeah, because I know in the very beginning I had left neglect, and I still have it to an extent, but that was, I mean, I didn't know about you, but, you know, this was 14 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
When my stroke was 16, I waited several years till I felt better. You know, I just hired the local student driving people to, so that I knew I had someone that had that. As much as I hated it at 16, I wanted it at 39, 40, you know, I wanted the guy with the brake. So if I was about to run into the curb on the left-hand side, he could stop the car.
And like you said, if there's a school that would do that and you get the right person, great. But it's just you never know what you're going to get.
Well, true.
You know.
But it was a better option than my dad at the time. So.
Yeah, and that's the problem. Most people, their family member, they can't be helpful because the family member's more nervous than the actual driver.
Oh yeah, I mean, I didn't want my dad helping me at 16. So.
Oh yeah, okay.
Didn't want him helping me as a grown up. So.
How do you help the family members cope or get on the side of the person that wants to return to driving?
Medical marijuana. No, I'm joking. No. You know, it just depends. If they're open, you know, we just say, hey, look, we'll take it one session at a time. You know, it just all depends on the family. You know, hopefully the family member, they're on board and they understand that, you know, Johnny has some deficits that he has to overcome, and it's going to be a process. You know, if he gets done quick, great. But if we need to do, multiple sessions over a couple months, you just have to understand that. So, and we do homework sometimes. We want the family member to be bought into that, and help them with the homework.
That makes sense. So, what maybe just to kind of wrap this up here, what advice would you give to survivors or even caregivers of survivors for someone wanting to return back to work? Not work, sorry, driving.
Yeah, I would say, talk to your doctor first to see if it's appropriate, and then look up a driver rehab specialist in your area. If you're here in Texas, I would contact Texas Workforce Solutions, Voc Rehab, if you need some assistance of getting back into the workforce, and they can help pay for our services. But, just like I said, talk to the doctor first to see if you're even in that ballpark. And if you are, reach out to a driver rehab specialist near you.
Okay, that's great. Well, Brandon, thank you for joining us again. We always like having you here, and next time we'll have to bring a car and let us go do wheelies in the parking lot.
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm just kidding, but
Or donuts.
yeah. And thank you to everyone for listening. So we appreciate you taking the time out of your day.
Yeah. You can find our new episodes on all your favorite platforms. Until next time.
We hope you've enjoyed listening to Bindwaves and continue to support Brain Injury Network and our nonprofit mission. We support brain injury survivors as they reconnect into life, the community, and the workplace. And we couldn't do that without great listeners like you. We appreciate each and every one of you. Please remember to click the like button, the share button, and the subscribe button on YouTube. And follow us on Instagram at Bindwaves and Brain Injury Network on Facebook. You can email us at bindwaves@thebind.org or go to our website, bindwaves.org, or call us at 972-769-2463. Please continue watching. Until next time.